Hi all, and welcome back. Today I'm checking in on Borderlands 4, 6 weeks after launch, to see what's changed, what's improved, and what still needs work. Gearbox has pushed several major patches since release, so let's go over what the experience is like now. Borderlands 4 launched on September 12th, and the first week was rough. PC players ran into constant stutters and shader hitches, while consoles lacked comfort options like FOV sliders and motion blur toggles. For me, it was playable, but I seem to have been the exception. Lucky me. Since then, Gearbox has released multiple patches focused on stability, mission fixes, and balance. And while some problems remain, the overall experience finally feels stable. Let's start with performance. The biggest change players are noticing seems to be smoother traversal. That early shader hitch, the small freeze every time you entered a new area, is less common now. The game preloads shaders faster, which means sprinting or driving through new terrain doesn't stutter as often as before. Load times appear shorter, GPU spikes less frequent, and for many PC setups, frame pacing feels more stable overall. It's still not perfect. Some players continue to report micro stutters in dense city zones or during heavy co-op fights, but compared to launch, it's a noticeable step forward. My own experience has been good enough, though I still had to adjust a few settings early on, which really shouldn't have been necessary. I'm now running the game on maximum settings, and it performs reasonably well most of the time. There's still work to be done, but for most setups, stability finally feels closer to where it should be.
Gearbox also fixed a long list of mission and progression bugs that were soft-locking players. NPCs that failed to spawn now appear properly, fast travel stations save their unlocks, and quests no longer reset after death. The rank-up missions that didn't register progression are working again, and co-op sessions no longer desync when one player loads faster than the other. In short, the campaign now flows the way it should have from day one. On the loot and reward side, there's been real progress. The Lost Loot machine finally works properly. It prioritizes rare gear and lets you sell items directly, so no more pointless gray gear cluttering it up. Gearbox also lowered the respec cost from 5,000 Iridium to 1,500, making it much easier to experiment with builds without feeling punished. Cash drops and vending prices have been rebalanced, and world bosses now scale loot correctly to your level. Still, some players say drop rates feel a little stingy, and the nerf to crit knives hit melee builds harder than expected. So while the economy's better, tuning is still ongoing. The balance patches have been a major focus. Vault Hunters received buffs across the board. Harlow's elemental builds now stack damage correctly, Rafa's melee tree has better sustain, and Eamon's cooldown loop was tweaked to make hybrid builds more viable. The Siren's abilities also improved, faster charge recovery and cleaner dot scaling, which makes her smoother to play overall. Community feedback is mostly positive, though some min-max players feel that a few of the newer nerfs, especially around late-game crit weapons, made certain high-damage builds less fun. Gearbox has said they're continuing to monitor stats and plan further adjustments over time. Then there's UI and controls. One of the biggest wins for console players is the addition of a full FOV slider, something missing at launch. Weapon wheels no longer get stuck, and controller support for abilities like air dash and skill triggers feels tighter.
Inventory filters finally save between sessions too, so you don't have to redo your sorting every single time. That's a big quality of life fix. The UI can still feel clunky, but it's a noticeable improvement. Co-op lobbies load faster, and the interface no longer lags when swapping gear or comparing items. These are small fixes individually, but together they make the game feel much more responsive. Visuals and audio also received quiet but noticeable upgrades. Lighting in darker indoor areas is adjusted, cutscene pop-in reduced, and environmental effects look sharper overall. Audio balancing improved as well. Dialogue syncing is better, voice lines repeat less often, and combat music transitions more naturally between fights. It still has that loud, over-the-top Borderlands energy, but it's more consistent and less messy to play moment to moment. Post-launch support has also been steady. Gearbox started rolling out short, limited events between major updates, small bursts of content meant to keep players active while larger DLCs are in the works. So, even if you finish the story, it's clear they plan to keep adding things rather than letting the game go quiet between expansions. So, where does Borderlands 4 stand now? Simply put, it's in a much better place for most players. The technical problems that dominated launch week are largely fixed, though still not perfect. The core loop feels smoother thanks to all the quality of life changes. There's still tuning to do, especially around performance and balancing, but the experience overall is finally consistent, and it might be worth jumping in if you've been waiting for stability. That was it. If you like videos that don't waste your time, please consider liking and subscribing.
Regardless, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.